everyone. Welcome to my channel. I'm Jill, also known as the Sepia Advocate. On today's channel, we'll be talking about all things Black and Brown. This is a community built to have an open dialogue to discuss things that matter to us. So if there's something that you want to talk about, please do not hesitate to let me know and be sure to join in the conversation. Today, we're going to talk about high value fathers. Promoting responsible fatherhood is more important now than ever. Um, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are in the news. They're fighting over the custody of their four children. Kanye is currently dragging Kim because he swears that she is trying to keep him from seeing and having an interaction with their children and being a part of their lives. Their 9-year-old daughter, Northwest, has been seen on TikTok dancing, and Kanye does not approve. I wonder, is that really and truly the crux of their disagreement? Does Kanye really want to be a high value father in his children's lives, or is he just making an excuse to get next to Kim? They both knew what they were getting into, so I don't have a lot of sympathy for either one of them. On the other hand, I do agree with Kanye though. No 9-year-old girl needs to be streaming on the internet. The internet is not a recreational toy. As far as going to church every week, was that an important factor when he was living in the home? Because if it wasn't, it makes it look a little bit speculative. But if it was, then I think they definitely need to continue to go each week. And she should take him. If that was a priority, then that's what they need to continue with. Unfortunately, as bad as we all need Jesus, he doesn't have a leg to stand on if it wasn't a priority in his home when he was in the home. But Kanye buying a house right across the street from them is absolutely insane. Kim will never escape him. Now that she wants to move on, 4 kids later, good luck with that. Let's delve into the concept of high valued fathers. My personal opinion is that a high valued father, they are the head of their household and they're at the dinner table eating and praying over their family meal every night without fail. They are not cheating on their wife or going around town spreading their seed to every other random woman, creating children all over town. They're not acting irresponsible and selfish and not concerned about what it'll do to their own family unit. They are at home protecting their family unit as opposed to sporadically showing up and popping in to see their children whenever they feel like it, when it's convenient for them to give them money every now and then. That's not my idea of a high value father. A high value father loves and respects his wife and provides for his family. Providing for his family is his number one priority. He has a personal relationship with each of his children. His resolve is provide a loving and caring home environment, and he does it intentionally. He's there helping support the household in every way, every day. He knows each family member's likes and dislikes and does everything he can do to brighten their day on purpose. He helps the kids with the schoolwork. He knows their doctors, their dentists, their teachers, and their coaches. He's an active part of their life. He's involved in all aspects of his child or children's personal growth from beginning to end. He is also there, hopefully, to instill his values, morals, and values in his children. And hopefully, they're great morals and values. And I think if they're at home and that's what their focus is, it's probably going to be just that. Some say that if black fathers are lifted up, black families will become stronger. Well, I don't know if I necessarily agree. I say it depends on the father. I mean, I agree if they're visible in the home, particularly in today's world, because that's needed again, as I said, more now than ever. Because they need to be able to speak to their children about how to appropriately channel their anger. For instance, by teaching them to be able to protest peacefully, as opposed to looting and breaking into buildings and things of that nature when they might be responding to, an unarmed killing of a black man. There's a way to handle that. And their father, being in the part of active part of their life, will be able to show them that. They need to have the talk with their sons and daughters about how to deal with police when stopped so they can make it home safely. We need to create a stigma against irresponsible childbearing on both the men and the woman's part. But today we're addressing fathers, so we're going to talk about the father's part. Question. When it comes to the child's psychological and emotional growth and development, do you think that if a father at least handles his fiduciary responsibilities, he is any less of a deadbeat than that of a father who's dead broke and absent altogether? I mean, that's a question I'd like for you to come forth and answer for me. My response is probably what most will respond, and that is yes, to a certain degree. That's what most will probably say, but my response is personally is not really. Um, the money added to the household income is always a plus, a must, and a necessity. However, a child needs their father, of course, both parents, but their father, become my father, to be present and center in their life to assist them in making them into the best well-rounded person they can be. When a father is not present in a child's life, it's as if something is missing, almost like a death. When a child doesn't have that parent that they need to be able to go to for any reason when they want or need or have a question or concern that needs to be answered. They need to know that they have loving support from both parents, on both sides, and that they can actually depend on that loving support at any time. All people really have to do is think about their own personal journey throughout the world. Whether you had a high valued father or not, if you did or didn't, at some point you had to think about or imagine what that would have looked like. What value it would have added to your personal growth and development had you had that opportunity. So I'm thinking that that's something that even if we didn't have, we've imagined it, we've thought about it. Now, I agree that if a father's high value and they were high valued and they're visible in the home in a positive light, because that matters. It's definitely, it has to be a positive light because there are some fathers that are in the home and they they are not necessarily functioning in a positive manner, and that doesn't really help. But if they are there in a positive light, they could definitely uplift the family. However, equally as important, if they're not in the home, they still need to be as present as possible in their child's life or children's life. You need to visit your children as often as possible. You need to make them a priority at all times. You need to stay true to your word and promises. And if you tell them you're going to take them on vacation, you need to, by God, take them on vacation. No excuses. You need to be there. And that's just that. There's so many fathers that, make promises and they don't keep them. And that's equally as damaging to your child. When it comes to a child's psychological, emotional growth and development, do you think that that's money is all that's important. That's the question. When I was discussing this with my cousin, she asked me, "What's man's greatest role on earth?" And my answer was fatherhood. Being a father is more important than any job, any hobby, or anything else you do, any desire. You know, when you help procreate another human being, you need to be there to assist and love and support them as much as possible. And that's actually required and needed to help properly develop and nurture your child. In other words, you can be breaking all barriers on the football field, basketball court, baseball court, diamond. You could be number one on the Billboard chart. You could be just actually being the best you can be in whatever it is you're pursuing. But if you can't spend any quality time with your own offspring that you created, you're just as big a deadbeat as an absentee father. Again, the money may help financially, but the child suffers emotionally and psychologically. I do applaud Kanye West for attempting to do that. Whether it's for the betterment of his children or not is a different story. But he needs to get together, get himself together, and he needs, if he's going to be present in his kid's life. If he's going to be there and he's going to be creating messes and it's not going to be beneficial for them, then he needs to get it together first. Because showing up out of order isn't going to assist and promote the personal growth of their children. Now, that's my take on the whole situation. I want to know whether or not you disagree or agree with me. If you'd like to add to the conversation, step into the room. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. And if you'd like to come up, be heard, by all means, click on the link and do so like Robin Crusoe. So let me add this to the chat. And come on in. Hey, well, Jordan's here. Hi, Jordan. Let me bring her up and see what she has to say about what I've just said. See if she has any comment. Jordan, are you there?
I am. Hi.
Hi.
I don't really have a lot to say on that subject as I am quite, so I don't have a lot of experience in that arena. But it sounded like you were right on target to me. You had some good points that you made, some valid points that you made. What was your dad like?
My dad was exactly what I described, and that was just my definition of a high value father. Every night, he was there to bless our food at the dinner table. My dad didn't smoke or drink. And I'm not saying that, 'cause it's that's wrong in any way, form, shape, or fashion. But he was just an ideal man, in my opinion,
Did
and
he
my
ever
opinion
do
is always
anything?
counts here for me. Um, but I mean, was he? Did he have any issues? Probably, but he never showed that in front of us. He was present in our lives every day. He knew he knew our schedule. He knew our teachers. He knew, what we were doing every day. He was there to support my mom. He helped around the house. He didn't, he worked every day and so did she. And, but everything that I described, to me, as a high value father was what he was. And so that's why I say it's my definition. But if somebody else has a definition, hey, I'd love to hear it because, everybody has their own personal experience, personal journey. And I think that that's what it looks like for them now. And, maybe, maybe they don't, but then they could also say, well, this is what I want to be so that, because I did once imagine it at least, if if I didn't even get a chance to experience it. What was your dad like?
Did you guys do anything special together? Oh, I had the greatest dad ever. Did you and your dad ever do anything special together? Like an activity that you and he enjoyed?
Oh, yeah, because my father was present in our lives the whole way through. But the thing I guess I remember most is my coming out cotillion. You know, he had father and daughter dance as well as all the other kids there that were in it. But yeah, he was always present in everything that we did in school, and he supported everything that we did. I mean, you know, he made it easy for us to, stay focused and not get into a lot of trouble. Because I think that if you have both parents and the father is keeping them busy and he's there in their lives and he's setting that example, then they're going to follow. Because,
That's right.
you are your child's first teacher, leader, doctor, lawyer, everything that they need, you're there. You're their
Right.
first nurturer, and they look up to you, good or bad. So if you're, providing, good influence and you're there and active in their lives, that's what they're going to emulate. That's what I think. So, um, yeah, I think he was a great dad. He never, like I said, was out of order in any way, which is real important because I think I would have been terrified if that was the case. I mean, after a while, I guess you get numb to it, so you get used to it. But um, he was, he worked every day.
Did he ever play with you?
I beg your pardon.
Did he ever play with you?
Well, we had family games like game night. My mother, she was an educator. She was a teacher, and so yeah, she provided all kinds of games. She might have games that she was going to try on her students, and she'd sit and play with us. Or we played board games, Monopoly, and
Oh, that sounds like fun.
huh?
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, cards, and we did all of that. My dad also helped with the cleaning. He cleaned house better than my mother could. I mean, he put designs in the floor, and because my dad was an engineer and he was an artist, and those kinds of things were real important to him. So, um, yeah, that was my definition of a high value father, and I think he was just that.
Sounds
So.
like he was. You're very blessed.
And is that your definition as well, the things that I've described, or do you have a different take on?
No, I think a high value father is everything that you said. A
Okay.
leader, an example, a friend, a guardian, a disciplinarian, an educator, all those things. There's
Well,
so
my dad
many
wasn't
aspects of being a
disciplinarian. My
father.
mom did that, believe it or not, because we have a family, and a lot of people in our family does know. When my dad went to, my mom made him, because we got whipped, so by my mom, and when we deserved it, and I think it made us better people personally. And I know people aren't. This isn't a segment on spankings or whether they're good or bad, but back then that was how we did it, and I
Right.
think that it helped. It worked, and it was very very beneficial. And I think that it would be today. Well, what society is today, it may not because it's just so many crazy things that people have put out in the world and people's minds. But your child, if you're not going to be the first one discipline, as I said, you're the first in their life, then somebody else in the streets will, and they're not going to care. They don't have any love for them. So
Right.
that's kind of how we had to look at it. And my mom had told my dad to spank us one day or whoop us. And my dad took us in the room and we were crying and everything, thinking, how you anticipate that cry if they were whipping. And he started whooping the bed. My dad didn't believe in it, but he supported my mother. So that's why he went forth with that. But he was
Why did
not
your
a
mom whoop you?
disciplinarian like that. And so our discipline came from my mom. But she, believe me, she put it down enough that if we needed it, and we didn't get a lot because, that's a form of, you know, punishment or consequence. And if you are any ways, right in mind, that's going to, once you get that and you don't like that experience, you're not going to do it again. It's going to teach you a lesson. And that's what they're designed to do. And, and again, with all the things that parents are today, some of them, may not be in the position to use disciplinarian to the degree that it should. So it's just kind of hard to say whether or not it works for everybody, but that's what worked for us in our household. And we came out pretty good, I think. All three of us. I got one brother and one sister, and I think we turned out pretty well. So,
No,
um,
I was only ever spanked once.
I beg pardon?
I was only ever spanked once.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The way they punished in my household was I would be not allowed to do something that I had been looking forward to. A slumber party or going, out to pizza on Fridays. That's how I was punished. I couldn't do those things. And I'm an only child, so I didn't have anybody to play with, so having that taken away was hard for me.
Yeah. And I could see that being the case too when you're an only child. But when you have three kids and they're all about the same age, we were stair step. There has to be some form of disciplinary and discipline for that because otherwise, I think that you wouldn't learn. I think that, like my son, he's the only child, and I think I spanked him once or twice, and he never forgot those spankings, or whoopings. Believe me, he never did because he's brought up to my attention. But that's the crazy thing because it really shouldn't happen like that. But it wasn't. It's just that he was so spoiled. He was the only child. He didn't need to probably be necessarily spanked when you're the only child because again, you can take things away, and then they don't have other examples and stuff like that. So I don't know. But he remembers that. And it kind of blows me away. I mean, it's not like I don't remember my spankings. I don't. But there were a couple that were unforgettable. But they, like I said, everything that I think I got, I just my mother told me why, and when she proceeded to whoop my ass, I learned from that spanking. I learned that that's not something I should be doing.
Right.
And back then, like I said, that was how it was really done oftentimes. We did get punished as well. But some people, didn't have anything to punish with. Some people didn't really have anything. And if you didn't have anything, what can you take away? So, there's lots of family dynamics that you have to consider. And when doing that, that's another whole nother
Why didn't your mother spank you?
subject. Yeah, because it doesn't work for everybody,
Yeah,
but
that's
it
true.
worked for us.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, no one else seems to have joined the conversation, Jordan. So I thank you for coming up and having a conversation with us. I'm going to leave up for just a little bit longer, and if nobody joins, then we'll go ahead and end the broadcast here and you know, look for another subject in another day or so. But thank you for coming. All right, guys. I dropped the link in the chat. No one seems to be in here right now, so we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast. We may revisit this subject at a later date, but yeah, this was uh, the conversation on high value fathers. Um, I think they are important in the lives of Black families, any family, but particularly Black family. And as we're talking about today, and I think that you know they need to be in order when it comes to um, being a part of the child's life. I don't think if you're ready to um, come with your full love and support, then you need to get together and then come. Because I had a neighbor, and this is not to call out anybody because it could be any neighbor, but he had a drinking problem, and he was a hardworking man though, and he worked every day. He was always in his home. He always supported the family, but he was, I guess, a social, or he drank a lot during the weekends when he got off work, and he was always pretty much buttered. And they turned out pretty decent too. But it was hard, I'm sure, on that family, the mother, accepting the fact that he was, falling over, you know, inebriated every day. But again, that's how they cope, and I just think that it can have a detrimental effect on the family when that kind of thing happens. So, and I'm like I said, I'm not sure, whether or not it had any real devastating effect on kids, but it would have been devastating to me. So that's just my take. But if you have any other take on it, feel free to let me know. Bring it up in another conversation, and we'll talk about it. Thank you for joining in the broadcast. Come back and see us again soon. Goodbye.